Hello and welcome aboard the LA-174, the Russian rank 5 battle rating 8.0 jet fighter, which is the top jet fighter for the Lavochkin fighter line. Now, if you haven't seen such a plane in battle before, that might be due to the fact that it is a rare vehicle. And it was available, as far as I know, 2 times. And in fact, it's a funny story how I got my hands on it. Now, the first time this plane was available was when the LA-15 was introduced, and it was available to research for a very limited amount of time. I think it was 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was, of course, a way for Gaijin to convince players very gently to use golden needles to convert free XP, I guess. Because researching 2 chats in that amount of time was not easy. And so I did not care, despite the fact that at that time I guess I had researched everything. I didn't care. It was some Russian reward rare plane. Yeah, at that time I didn't care. The second time I got my hands on it was relatively funny because it was not announced. But I had nothing left to research, and I flew the Russians anyway someday, and suddenly I began to research a plane. And I wondered, why am I researching something? Is there something left to research? No. Then I played another match, and then I saw it. I'm researching the LA-174. And then I grinded hard for it. And then, when I already got it, a day after that, it was announced that it is again available for research for a limited amount of time. But I already got it. And when I got it, I actually bought one upgrade, the fuselage repair for golden eagles, like licking the plane like it's mine. Now you can't take it away from my account anymore. Funny story, I know, but the thing is, what you see here is literally the third battle that I ever played. And I exclusively, with the exception of one mixed match, just always was bottom tier. That means I always got thrown into 9.0 games, which is a bit of a problem because unlike the F-86 Sabre, this plane has a few drawbacks. And the first of them all is the speed. You will rip your wings around about 950 kilometers an hour, a true airspeed. So, you don't have the top speed, unlike the Sabre. It seems like you have a little bit better acceleration. That's one way of getting kills. The enemy just, ramming himself into the ground after receiving a hit. And the next thing is, when you are forced to dive away, you can't. And even, using air brakes is tricky, as the air brakes really don't de-accelerate you. They don't break you down, or they don't kill your airspeed. Maneuverable wise, I have to say it's okay, and there is a sweet spot at around 600 to 500 kilometers an hour, and I think from 550 kilometers an hour onwards you can use the flaps, the combat flaps, and they really work. They let you turn fantastically. So when you're doing horizontal maneuvers, the combat flaps really help. But you really have to take care of them not ripping. Yeah, here I'm following the Venom, and you can see the next problem, and that's the guns. The guns are in many ways a problem. First of all, when they're stuck, they spray hard. Then they have a high rate of fire, which is normally not a problem, but you have a limited amount of ammunition. 300 rounds in total for three 23mm guns. And they run dry fast, believe me that. And as you can see, I'm down to nearly just a third of my ammunition loadout. and that's not good. Now, why this plane has good maneuverability, it can't sustain a dogfight for very long, and that has to do with how those high tier battles work, at least from my limited experience. And that is that both teams rush into each other hard. MiG 15s and MiG 17s ran head on versus Hunters. There's a little bit of positioning going on at the beginning, but literally that's it. A little bit. And then, they just shoot through each other. They avoid head ons, they don't kill each other, they miss each other. And the next thing the Hunters and the F2 Saber C is you trying to catch up desperately to get into the cover of your MiG-15 swarm, which just, rush away from you from the airfield. And then you have to deal very often with numerous planes, and while you can avoid them at the beginning, at some point they just drain your energy. You try to get guns onto them, you try to get sniping shots, but they don't kill planes as good as this Banshee here. I mean, that was probably a fair fight. He has the same battle rating like me, right? Yeah, well, yeah. You have to be really opportunistic. Um, the best method so far is to side climb a little bit, wait the first engagement and the aftermath of the first engagement, um, trying not to, look out for the enemy's attention. To be honest, don't go into head-on. It's probably very difficult to lead those guns as they are mounted below the fuselage, which makes aiming not really easy for me. I have to get used to it, especially when I later fly my mix and maybe the other mix, because there are so few mix in the tech tree which have a very huge variety of armament. Yeah, jokes aside, um, there is not much to talk about this plane, except that it doesn't do pretty well in 9.0 games. And in that one mixed match, I was killed by a Tier 4. Yeah, much fun, was it? Um, the way that this plane takes damage is maybe worth mentioning. That was a lucky shot, by the way. Yeah, and this MiG-17 tried to steal my kill, but it was my third kill. That's the battle. Yeah, when you take damage, it's mostly the inner wing that gets black, and suddenly you roll like crazy. It's difficult to hold the plane in air, and here you can see the turning capabilities. By the way, this plane is basically stock, with the exception of the new fuselage repair. But when you take damage, you roll like a German plane when it gets damaged, so it's not very good. And also, have I mentioned the bad air brakes? They are really bad. So that means when you brake, while landing, you have your difficulties. So, anyways, that's the battle. For 3 kills, 1 assist, I got 72,000 silver lines and 4,884 research points. And you can see I'm currently researching the compressor. I have to say, research point wise, it's okay to fly this plane. I was just 4th in team with 1,936 score points. So yeah, the problem with this plane is that the battle I just showed you was by far the most successful one. Also, it's pretty repetitive. Like, all the gameplay that I could show you potentially was either on Spain or on Korea. And, it's getting repetitive really quickly, at least for me. Um, I don't like this kind of, fighting, because it's just rushing in head on, a little bit of dogfight, and that's over. There is no real skill or tactic involved. And when you don't have the plane, skill really doesn't help you in the long run. You just can evade enemy players for so long. And yeah, this match that I just showed you was the battle where everything came together in a very nice way. If you have any tips or tricks for me, let me know for this plan. It's probably the same with the LA15. If you know your LA15 good, then let me know how to make it work in top tier battles. I mean, you can't go head on, you can't dive after somebody, and you can't run away. And turning just works for a certain period of time. And when you're out of energy, you're dead anyway. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe if you want to see more. Give this video a like if you did. And see you next time in the skies.